A millionaire single father employs a nanny to care for his disabled son. Upon reviewing the surveillance footage, he uncovers a startling revelation. The grand estate of Liam Anderson loomed majestically at the end of a serpentine driveway, its expansive glass windows mirroring the gloomy sky, imparting an even more frigid and inhospitable aura to the mansion. Within, the atmosphere was eerily silent, as if the residents had long since forsaken the echoes of happiness. Liam Anderson occupied his study, his fingers methodically drumming against the dark oak desk, his penetrating blue eyes surveying the surroundings. His gaze remained fixed on a resume before him, yet his thoughts wandered. He had interviewed 4 nannies that week, each possessing impeccable credentials, yet none resonated with him. His son Noah had ensured that. A gentle knock on the door drew him back to the present. "Mr. Anderson," his assistant Claire announced, "Miss Emma Brooks is here for the interview." Liam exhaled slowly before replying, "Send her in." The door opened, and Emma Brooks entered. She was younger than the previous candidates, attired simply in a light blue blouse and dark trousers. Her dark brown hair was arranged in a tidy ponytail, and her hazel eyes exhibited a subdued determination. She neither fidgeted nor appeared daunted by the imposing office, which distinctly differentiated her from the others. "Miss Brooks," Liam greeted tersely, gesturing to the chair opposite him. "Mr. Anderson," she responded with a courteous nod before taking a seat. Liam scrutinized her for an extended moment, absorbing her composed demeanor. Then, without preamble, he inquired, "Do you have experience working with disabled children?" Emma met his gaze unwaveringly. Emma hesitated, leaning back slightly as she carefully selected her words. "I have experience working with children who have mobility challenges. I comprehend the patience it necessitates and the emotional burden it imposes on them and their families." Liam narrowed his eyes. "That is a rather general response. Have you formally studied physical therapy?" Emma did not flinch at the inquiry. "I did, but I did not complete my degree." Liam raised an eyebrow. A shadow crossed Emma's face, yet she maintained an even tone. For personal reasons, Liam exhibited no tolerance for ambiguous responses. He was on the verge of probing further when Claire entered the room. "Sir, Noah refuses to come downstairs. He asserts that he does not wish to meet another nanny." Liam sighed, raking his fingers through his dark hair. This was not a novel occurrence. Noah had resisted every effort to employ someone to care for him. "Give me a minute." Emma stood up. "If you don't mind, Mr. Anderson, I would like to introduce myself to him personally." Liam glanced at her, mildly surprised. "He won't talk to you." "That's all right," Emma replied with a small smile. Liam expressed a desire to see Noah. He hesitated before gesturing for Claire to proceed. Emma trailed behind her down a lengthy, tranquil corridor, halting at the partially open door of Noah's bedroom. The room was dimly illuminated, with the heavy curtains drawn. A small figure was curled up in the corner of a large bed, facing away from them. Claire spoke gently. "Noah, dear, this is Miss Brooks. She's here to visit." Noah's voice was soft yet resolute. Claire glanced apologetically at Emma before stepping aside. Emma inhaled deeply and entered the room, approaching cautiously. In an attempt to initiate dialogue, she positioned herself a few feet from the bed, allowing Noah his distance. "Hello, Noah," she spoke gently. "I'm Emma." The boy remained unresponsive. Observing the disarray of books on the floor, predominantly adventure tales, she inquired, "You enjoy reading, don't you?" as she picked up a well-worn copy of Treasure Island. "That's an excellent choice. I used to read it with my younger brother." Noah still did not turn around, but his slight tension was evident. Emma carefully placed the book back down. "I understand you've encountered many." Prior to her departure, the nannies had come and gone, and she continued with a warm voice, acknowledging the exhaustion that must accompany such frequent transitions. A silence ensued, during which Noah, in a barely audible whisper, remarked, "They always leave." Emma experienced a sharp pang in her chest and gradually approached, halting at the edge of the bed. "I'm not here to leave, Noah," she said gently. "I am here because I choose to be and because I believe you are quite special. A moment of silence lingered between them, and then, with hesitation and uncertainty, Noah slowly extended his small hand. Claire lightly touched Emma's wrist, prompting a sharp inhalation. It was the first instance in over a year that Noah had willingly reached out to another person. Emma smiled gently, refraining from hastening the interaction, permitting him to dictate the pace. "See, we're already friends." At the doorway, Liam stood immobilized. He had witnessed Noah dismiss every nanny without hesitation and isolate himself from the world. Yet, within mere minutes, this woman had seemingly penetrated his defenses. For the first time in a considerable duration, Liam Anderson was rendered speechless. Days spent with Emma were characterized by silence. Noah remained cautious, maintaining his distance, his small frame tense whenever she entered the room. He refrained from interaction, scarcely recognizing her presence. However, Emma remained undeterred. She did not compel him to converse or engage in activities he wished to avoid. Instead, she consistently arrived each day at the same hour, adorned with a warm smile, as if she were meant to be there. She observed his tendency to avert his gaze from his wheelchair and how his fingers curled into his sleeves whenever therapy was mentioned. Had witnessed previously the subdued sorrow of a child who perceived himself as flawed. However, Noah was not flawed. One morning, Emma entered his room, clutching a small, spherical exercise ball. She seated herself on the carpet, intentionally avoiding his gaze, and began to roll the ball in front of her. "I used to engage in a game with my younger brother," she reflected aloud. Initially, he found it trivial, but eventually he excelled at it. Noah, curled up on his bed, remained unresponsive. Emma positioned the ball a few feet away from him. "If you ever wish to play, simply push it back to me." Subsequently, she departed, leaving the ball undisturbed for 3 days. However, on the 4th day, upon entering the room, Emma observed a slight displacement of the ball, indicating Noah's attempt. She smiled. This marked the inception of their connection. Small, seemingly trivial actions that gradually fostered trust. Emma refrained from pressuring Noah. Instead, she extended invitations. She introduced gentle stretches, referring to them as secret ninja moves to enhance their appeal. She employed storytelling to motivate him to reach for objects and introduced soft therapy bands, presenting them as. Noah experienced challenging days characterized by frustration, during which he declined to engage and merely gazed out the window, enveloped in his own despondency. However, Emma exhibited patience on such occasions. She refrained from urging him to participate and simply sat beside him in silence. One day, unprompted, he emitted a faint laugh, barely more than a whisper, yet genuine. Emma had been feigning difficulty while arranging toy blocks, exaggerating her reactions each time they collapsed, groaning and pressing her hand against her forehead. "Noah, I believe these blocks harbor a personal vendetta against me," the young boy chuckled. Emma, momentarily paralyzed, widened her eyes in feigned astonishment. "Did you just laugh? I must document this. The world must be informed." Noah chuckled again, covering his mouth as if unaccustomed to the sound. This was the first instance Liam Anderson genuinely observed her. Liam had consistently depended on the security cameras installed throughout the residence. It was not about surveillance, or so he reassured himself. It was about maintaining order and ensuring his son's safety. However, in recent days, he had been scrutinizing the footage more frequently than warranted. He observed Emma navigating the house effortlessly, her presence seemingly innate, as if she had always been a part of it. He noted her interactions with Noah, characterized by patience. She never imposed, always allowing him to approach her. Noah, his son, was smiling, a transformation Liam scarcely recognized. The boy who once shunned engagement now leant towards Emma when she spoke and reached for her when she offered something. Liam allowed himself to laugh, a sound he had not produced in some time. Late one evening, as he reviewed security footage for the 3rd time, Claire entered with a stack of documents. "Mr. Anderson," she inquired hesitantly, noticing his intense focus on the monitor. Liam did not divert his attention from the screen. "She's different," he murmured. Claire followed his gaze to the monitor, where Emma sat on the floor beside Noah, playfully tapping his nose as he attempted to grasp her wrist. "She is," Claire concurred. Liam exhaled slowly, leaning back in his chair. "Noah likes her." Claire smiled knowingly. "I believe he does." Liam remained silent for a prolonged moment before finally inquiring, "Do you think she will stay?" Claire hesitated before replying, "That depends." Liam frowned. "On what?" Claire met his gaze. "On whether or not you provide her a reason to." For the first time in a considerable duration, Liam found himself observing someone not as an employer, but as a man. Liam was a man who valued control. He disliked surprises and certainly abhorred being uninformed about those around him. However, Emma Brooks had become an anomaly in his otherwise predictable existence. In the structured environment she inhabited, Emma had been in Noah's home for scarcely a month, yet he had undergone transformations Liam had deemed improbable. The boy who previously rejected any semblance of therapy was now engaged, active, and, most astonishingly, hopeful. This change was entirely attributable to Emma. Initially, Liam presumed her affinity for children stemmed from innate kindness. However, upon closer observation, he discerned that her approach was rooted in expertise. She possessed a precise understanding of how to stretch Noah's muscles to avert stiffness and applied the appropriate pressure points to alleviate discomfort. She adeptly transformed the exercises into playful activities rather than therapeutic tasks. However, she had disclosed nothing regarding her formal training, which unsettled him. Liam was skeptical of blind trust. Consequently, one evening, driven by curiosity, he utilized his resources to make several inquiries. It did not take long to reveal the truth. Emma Brooks had previously been an emerging luminary in the realm of physical therapy, having excelled as a top student at a distinguished university, where her professors lauded her talent and commitment. Without warning, she had withdrawn, leaving no explanation or subsequent documentation. Liam scrutinized the report before him, his jaw clenching. Why would an individual of her caliber opt for a position as a nanny? There was only one method to ascertain the truth. The following morning, Liam discovered Emma in the backyard, assisting Noah in stretching his legs on the lush grass. The boy was giggling as Emma motivated him, emitting exaggerated cheers with each minor accomplishment. Liam observed for a moment, an unfamiliar sensation stirring within him, before clearing his throat. Miss Brooks stepped forward. Emma looked up at him, taken aback by his formal tone. She assisted Noah in settling onto a nearby cushion before standing. Liam gestured towards the side patio, ensuring Noah could not overhear. Emma followed, sensing an unusual coldness in his demeanor. Once they were alone, Liam did not hesitate. "Why didn't you inform me that you studied physical therapy?" Emma's body tensed. "I researched your background." Liam's voice was resolute, devoid of malice, yet imbued with curiosity and something else. "You were among the top in your class, and your professors believed you had a promising future in rehabilitation therapy. Then, unexpectedly, you vanished from the field." Emma inhaled sharply. She was not angered by his investigation, as she had anticipated it from him eventually. What she had not foreseen was the emotional pain this conversation would inflict. "I dropped out," she stated softly. "Why?" Emma hesitated, having spent years evading this discussion and suppressing the memories that threatened to overwhelm her whenever they resurfaced. Liam scrutinized her. Observing the tension in her clenched hands, Emma's voice softened as she implored, "Tell me the truth." She inhaled deeply, gathering the fortitude to articulate her thoughts. "My younger brother, Caleb," she finally revealed, "was born with a rare neuromuscular disorder that rendered him unable to walk. He spent his entire life in a wheelchair, yet he never allowed it to hinder him. He was the happiest child I ever knew." Liam remained silent, permitting her to proceed at her own rhythm. "I wanted to assist him," Emma continued, her voice laden with emotion. "That is why I pursue my studies. For years, I was convinced that through diligent effort and extensive knowledge, I could alleviate his suffering. Liam's chest constricted as he anticipated the unfolding narrative. Emma struggled to maintain her composure. Then, one day, he fell ill due to a complication from his condition. Initially, we perceived it as trivial, but it proved otherwise. Within weeks, he was lost. She blinked rapidly, battling the tears on the verge of cascading. I was meant to save him, she murmured. I was supposed to be the one capable of assisting him. Her voice faltered. I failed. Liam's stomach twisted. He was reluctant to return to school. Emma confessed, gazing at the ground, that each time she entered a classroom, her thoughts were consumed by the realization that nothing mattered anymore, as the one individual she wished to assist was absent. An unspoken silence loomed between them, dense and palpable. Liam had witnessed numerous individuals succumb to pressure, business adversaries, employees, even friends. But this situation was distinct. It represented a wound that had never mended. Gradually, Emma lifted her gaze, her hazel eyes brimming with unfiltered sincerity. I accepted this position upon witnessing Noah and Caleb, as it rekindled a sense of purpose within me that had been dormant for years. My motivation extends beyond mere financial compensation, Mr. Anderson. I am here to ensure that I do not let down another young boy who merits an opportunity. Liam gazed at her, his chest constricting with an indescribable emotion. She was sincere in every utterance, and for the first time since their acquaintance, Liam Anderson experienced a profound urge to safeguard someone, not due to their employment status, not due to obligation, but because she was significant. Liam Anderson was a man of habit. His life was organized, foreseeable, and carefully orchestrated. Each morning, he arose at exactly 5:30 a.m., exercised for precisely 45 minutes, and subsequently immersed himself in meetings, phone calls, and investment analyses. Noah had consistently occupied a place in that agenda, merely another engagement scheduled into his day. A brief at 7 o'clock, a check-in with his nanny at noon, and a good night at 8:30, but nothing beyond that. Emma Brooks, however, was different. Disrupting his meticulously structured routine, it commenced subtly one afternoon when she intercepted him as he was preparing to depart for work. "Mr. Anderson," she called, standing in the hallway with her arms crossed. Liam, already attired in his tailored suit, adjusted his cufflinks. "Yes." Emma tilted her head. "When was the last time you engaged in play with Noah?" Liam frowned. "I spend time with him. Having dinner in the same room does not suffice." He glanced at his watch. He had an important meeting in 40 minutes. "I have a business to manage, Miss Brooks, and Noah has a father who is scarcely present." The directness of her words caused him to hesitate. No one addressed him in such a manner, neither his employees, colleagues, nor even his closest friends. Emma's tone softened as she continued, "Just 15 minutes. That's all I'm requesting." Liam scrutinized her for an extended moment before conceding with a quiet sigh. 15 minutes. How difficult could it be? It proved to be more challenging than anticipated. Liam sat rigidly on the living room floor, observing Noah as Emma arranged a set of small, colorful bowling pins before him. "All right, champ," she said cheerfully, "your turn." Noah paused, uncertain. His diminutive fingers grasped the soft foam ball as he glanced at Liam with uncertainty. "Go on," Liam encouraged, though the words felt foreign in his mouth. Noah inhaled deeply and rolled the ball forward. It wobbled slightly before striking down 2 pins. Emma clapped enthusiastically, exclaiming, "Yes, that's 2 points for Noah." The boy beamed, his eyes illuminating with pride. Liam felt a constriction in his chest. He had invested thousands in the finest doctors, therapists, and equipment, yet he had never witnessed Noah in such a state of happiness. Minutes transformed into 30, then an hour. By the time Liam stood to depart, he recognized something peculiar. For the first time in years, he had not checked his phone once. As the days progressed, Emma persistently encouraged him in subtle manners. "Come on, Mr. Anderson," she teased one evening. "Just one game of chess with Noah. He's becoming quite skilled." "I don't lose," Liam responded tersely. Emma smirked. Then you have nothing to worry about, right? He played and lost. Noah's triumphant giggle was the most exquisite sound Liam had ever heard. One afternoon, Liam returned home earlier than usual. Noah was discovered outside in the garden, his wheelchair adjacent to him, as Emma knelt beside him, grasping his hand firmly. Okay, Noah, she said softly, just a little more. You can do this. Noah wobbled slightly, his legs quaking with exertion. Liam's breath hitched, and for a brief moment, Noah managed to stand. It was neither perfect nor strong, but it was a feat nonetheless. Noah gasped and then collapsed into Emma's embrace, laughing. Emma held him tightly, whispering words of encouragement. Liam, positioned by the doorway, felt an internal shift he realized he should have been. Liam felt a sense of pride, yet there was an unforeseen pang in his chest as he observed Emma cradling his son delicately, as if he were a fragile treasure. Unbeknownst to him, a genuine smile emerged on his face, a rarity he hadn't experienced in years. Later that evening, while Emma was organizing the living room, she glanced up and saw Liam observing her from the hallway. Startled, she inquired if something was amiss. Liam's jaw tightened. He appeared momentarily inclined to speak, but then seemed to reconsider. He swiftly averted his gaze, muttering a refusal as he pivoted. Good night, Miss Brooks. Emma observed his departure, a subtle, knowing smile gracing her lips. Liam Anderson was undergoing a transformation, albeit unbeknownst to him. A man who flourished in the realm of logic, numbers, and projections, elements he could manipulate. Liam found emotions to be erratic and tumultuous. For years, he had meticulously constructed barriers so formidable that he had nearly forgotten the sensation of caring beyond mere obligation. Yet, here he stood, approaching midnight. Rather than engaging in work, he found himself seated in his poorly illuminated office, fixated on the security monitor. Initially, it had been a routine to verify Noah's safety, but recently, his focus had shifted to another individual. This evening was no exception. He navigated through the live feeds, pausing in Noah's room, where he became transfixed by the screen. Emma was kneeling before Noah, tenderly grasping his hands. The gentle radiance of the bedside lamp highlighted her visage, yet it was her expression that caused Liam to momentarily lose his breath. She appeared vulnerable, fractured, and resolute simultaneously. Noah, she murmured, her voice quivering slightly. Let us attempt once more, shall we? Noah, appearing equally fatigued yet optimistic, nodded. Emma inhaled deeply. On 3, 1, 2, 3. With every ounce of strength in his diminutive frame, Noah exerted himself against the floor, his legs quaking as he elevated himself. For a brief moment, he stood, his small hands clasping Emma's arms, a broad, triumphant smile illuminating his face. I accomplished it. Emma chuckled gently, her grip stabilizing him. Indeed, you did. However, Liam observed the manner in which her expression shifted as her smile faltered, and her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. Noah collapsed back into her arms, fatigued yet beaming. Emma embraced him tightly, her body trembling slightly. Then, in a voice so soft that Liam had to increase the volume, she whispered, You did it, Noah. You're going to walk. My little brother never had the chance, but you will. Liam's entire body tensed as Emma's shoulders quaked while she pressed her forehead against Noah's. He appeared oblivious to her tears, preoccupied with his minor triumph. Liam perceived everything he had always sensed about Emma, an ineffable quality that resided behind her benevolent smiles. However, he now comprehended that this endeavor transcended mere employment. It was not solely about fulfilling her role as a proficient nanny or a devoted carer. This was deeply personal. She was not merely assisting Noah, but also redeeming herself. Liam exhaled unsteadily, raking his hand through his hair. Why would she invest her entire being into this? Why was she offering so much of herself and making such profound sacrifices? Then a thought occurred to him. Liam had been evading this realization for weeks, Was Emma's affection solely for Noah, or did it extend to him as well? He closed his eyes, a strange pain enveloping his chest. He had long maintained emotional distance, convincing himself that Emma was merely an employee, someone engaged to perform tasks. However, that was no longer the reality. As he sat alone in his office, observing a woman weep for his son with a depth of love he had never witnessed in another, Liam finally confronted the truth he had been fleeing. Emma Brooks was not just an employee. Transforming Noah's existence, she was altering his, and for the first time in years, Liam Anderson felt entirely and utterly powerless. Emma had always recognized that this was not a permanent situation. She had assured herself from the outset that this was merely a temporary engagement. She had entered Noah's life to assist him, to provide him with something she had failed to offer her younger brother. However, she had never anticipated the profound affection she would develop for him or the pain that would accompany her departure. It commenced with a conversation she inadvertently overheard. Emma had just. She entered the hallway upon hearing Liam's voice from his office, engaged in a phone conversation. "Yes, Dr. Reynolds, I appreciate you accommodating this. Noah requires the best, and I am prepared to pay whatever is necessary." A pause ensued. "No, I do not wish to squander any more time. I want a comprehensive therapy plan established by next week." Emma remained motionless. A comprehensive therapy plan, a professional therapist. She needed no further information. Liam was enlisting someone else. Suddenly, everything became clear. This had been inevitable. She had fulfilled her obligations and provided assistance. Noah, having made progress and no longer relying on her, allowed Liam to advance without her. Emma retreated to her room, her heart racing, and pressed a trembling hand to her mouth in an attempt to regulate her breathing. She had been foolish to believe she belonged here, momentarily convincing herself that she was integral to something genuine, that perhaps she held a position in their lives beyond mere employment. However, she was mistaken. The following morning, Emma entered Liam's office to submit her resignation. With a letter in hand, Liam scarcely diverted his attention from his laptop. "Miss Brooks, I am resigning." His fingers halted on the keyboard as he gradually raised his gaze to meet hers. "What?" Emma inhaled sharply, striving to maintain her composure. "You no longer require my services, Mr. Anderson. You have engaged a professional therapist. It is the appropriate course of action." Liam frowned, responding, "I did not hire him to supplant you, Emma. I engaged him to assist you." Emma's breath caught, yet she compelled herself to remain poised. "I believe it is time for me to depart." An uncomfortable silence enveloped them, and Liam's expression shifted. His expression was inscrutable, yet there was an element in his gaze that resembled hesitation. Nonetheless, he did not impede her, merely nodding once. "If that is your desire." Emma swallowed against the constriction in her throat. It was not her wish, but it was a necessity. Upon informing Noah of her departure, he succumbed to tears, which cascaded down his small face as he clung to her, his diminutive fingers grasping her sleeve with all his might. "No," he wept. "Please do not leave." Emma crouched down, enveloping him in a firm embrace. Her voice trembled as she caressed his disheveled hair. "You will be all right. You are resilient and improving daily." Noah shook his head vehemently. "Not like that. I don't want you to leave. You are my family." Emma shut her eyes tightly, striving to maintain composure. She yearned to express that her departure was not by choice, that she had developed a profound affection for this boy, as if he were her own kin, but she could not remain where she was no longer desired. "He doesn't need you anymore, does he?" Noah murmured. Emma tensed. "What?" Noah sniffled, gazing downward. "Dad, did he inform you that he no longer requires you?" Emma compelled a smile, despite her heart fracturing. "Noah, listen to me. You are destined for remarkable achievements, and regardless of my location, I will always support you." Noah enveloped her neck in an embrace, weeping into her shoulder, and Emma permitted herself to weep alongside him.